Well, Dr. Marlene Street Forrest tenure has led us through quite an era at the Jamaica Stock Exchange. We're talking about Jamaica being the number one performing exchange. 2 years, 2015 and 2018, we're talking about introducing NASDAQ technology. We're talking about things like short selling coming to the market and so much more. And so it is my pleasure to introduce her today as our guest, our Independence Day guest. Welcome, Dr. Street Forrest.
Thank you, Khalil. It's always a pleasure to be with you, to join you.
So, how long have you been at the JSE?
Just about 24 years.
24 years.
Yes, started in September 2020.
You know, young people don't stay at anywhere more than 2 3 years now. You know, these long careers. Wow, I really have to give it to you, to take my hat off to you. What was your first position there, and what attracted you to the role?
My first position was that of Deputy General Manager and in charge of finance. And then I moved on to being the General Manager for the Jamaica Central Securities Depository, which is a subsidiary of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and then on to the General Manager of the Stock Exchange, and then on to the Managing Director. The role of the Deputy General Manager, what attracted me? Well, it was really in charge of finance. And remember now, my career overall has been in accounting and finance. So obviously that would have initially attracted me to apply for the position as the Deputy General Manager in charge of finance. And obviously the entire area of the financial sector also played a role in my applying for the position and being accepted.
So you came in already at a senior level right
Yeah,
after the FinStack era of the 90s. You were there 2020, smack right after FinStack. What were you doing before going to the JSE?
2002, 2000, not 2020, 2000.
Ah, 2002.
Yes,
Sorry. Yes,
2000, because it's 24 years, 2000,
right.
September 2000, yes.
2000, my bad. Yes, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. Your question?
Right. So you came in right after the FinStack era, 2000. FinStack was the 90s. How did that affect your move to the JSE? Like, how did that impact your thinking around that time?
It didn't really, impact my thinking, because the fact is that markets will have its ups and downs, and I never shy away from any job at all. I always believe that coming in, I can play a role, and I seek to see where there are gaps and what role I can play. So the fact that the market was down probably also energized me in terms of what it is that I could possibly contribute. And the word is contribute. You must see yourself contributing to an organization before you even consider joining that organization.
Now, today, 24 years later, the JSE is one of the it's definitely the largest stock market in the English-speaking Caribbean, and possibly, one of the largest in the entire Caribbean. What are the things that you think led to that?
You have to look at it on different levels. One is the infrastructure that one would have created. Two, and most importantly, market education. Three, the building that confidence in the market. Sorry, whether it is from the investor side or potential listing. Then also you have to look at the external, which is the economy. And a lot has been done to ensure that we are on a good path in terms of Jamaica's economy. So all of these things play a role. And when I talk about the infrastructure, you are talking about the broker community, you are talking about others who would see the necessity to build a vibrant capital market, despite the fact that there was some fallout, the necessity to build a vibrant capital market. And it is the collective force that would have seen the stock exchange move from one position to the rise in the creation of new markets, etc. It's a collective.
So you have been there through three very significant periods. So you started post FinSac, you've been there 2008 recession, 2009, you've been there through COVID-19, 2020, 2021. Which of those periods would you say was the most challenging?
Each each period had its degree of challenges, and I would say that this last period here, post post COVID, has had its fair share of challenges because of the long extended bear market that we're having. It has its challenges, but the fact is that what we are certain about is that the stock market slash the stock exchange is resilient. We are comfortable that we have had more than 230 new investors to the market, which are well trained, understand the importance of the capital market, understand where they are or can be in the process of wealth creation. And so there is that body that will propel the market even after this.
So wow, so COVID was even more difficult than 2008 recession.
Yes, I would say that it was. Yes.
Wow, yeah, it absolutely had a dramatic impact. I remember this JSE falling like 30% in March, right when COVID-19, the restrictions were announced and everything. That entire period was extremely difficult. And then you had 20, not even sure, we're in 2024,
Yes.
2023, January, SSL,
Yes.
and the investor fallout that resulted. What do you think could have been done differently leading up to SSL?
Well, SSL fallout, let us look at it. It is a matter of confidence, market confidence. Persons are uncertain as to what will happen. And so, possibly, overall, there could be greater communication. And I still think that even at this point, there can be greater communication with the market so that persons are able to get back to normalcy than it took a long time.
Right, greater communication absolutely is needed, but what's preventing that at this time? And what type of communication would you recommend?
Well, persons want to know what to do after an institution seems to be in trouble. How do I, what do I know about my investments? Whether it is investments in the stock market, and I hasten to say here, as it relates to the stock market investments, because of how we are structured, the investments that are there under a stockbroker, those are secure. But people want to know how quickly I can take part, I can liquidate those investments or transfer those investments to another broker. And so when this takes time, obviously it means that those investors are not able to invest in the market, and the market feeds on activities. So even that constrains the market.
Are the regulations and the regulators strong enough?
I believe that the from the standpoint, let me answer from the standpoint of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. We do have a robust regulatory framework in the Regulatory and Market Oversight Division. And we constantly, monthly actually, look at each member dealer to see whether there are issues relating to that organization. These might not necessarily be reported immediately to the general public, obviously, because one would want to be examining and to speak with our ultimate regulator, which is the Financial Services Commission.
I feel like I haven't really answered the question. Are they strong enough?
Well, I can speak for the stock exchange. In everything, though, Kalila, when a problem hits, there's always an opportunity for one to look at how you can enhance that process, so that there is not a repetition or that the process becomes better should there be something of the same nature. So robust regulation is there. Strengthening that regulation obviously is important. And you would have seen and heard the finance minister, who ultimately the FSC at this point reports to, have indicated several other measures that will be taken in respect to the regulation of persons within the financial sector.
All right, but it's a year and a half now. He mentioned that February 2023 is now July, August 2024, and it still hasn't been implemented.
Yes, and you know, Kalila, that it is best to get it right. In everything business, it is important that you get it right, especially in keeping with the fact that we have this fallout. You don't want to present to the market something that is half baked. So yes, while you're dealing with the situation, you want to ensure that the regulatory framework that will be put in place, whether it is the Twin Peaks model or other models, that you get it right.
But given the fallout in investor confidence, and we've definitely seen the fallout in the performance of the stock market post SSL, yes, shouldn't this matter be treated with some urgency?
And I cannot say that it is not being treated with urgency. Just because you have not seen the full implementation or the implementation, it doesn't mean that it is not being treated with urgency. What it means is that there may be moving parts, there may be information and other things that are necessary to ensure that once it is implemented, the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, which is what I have to say on this matter.
Yeah, I do notice that there has been increased vigilance on the JSE's part in terms of companies that haven't been submitting their audited financial statements on time. We've noticed quite a few companies being suspended in recent times. I don't recall seeing this happening before this year.
Because you are correct. Because we did not have such a situation, and the situation, you have to look at it in all its parts. What we have, which is a growing problem, is the fact that the audited, because when you examine, the major issue is with the audited financials statements, and you have an industry, the audit companies, that are being challenged somewhat in delivering those audited financial statements. And you have to look at it from the standpoint that there are more companies that are listed. There are greater requirements in respect to the international financial reporting standards, etc., which does cause the those audits to be much more detailed and take up more resources. So you have that. And you have the fact that there are more companies to audit. So on that side, you have that issue. What you would not have seen also is, sorry, that the companies themselves, where you have um, conglomerates, because of that too, that create, and we have more of those, that create also some delays. So there are myriad of issues that are causing this problem that you see surface now. Post this period when you had the COVID, remember also that we gave, the stock exchange gave some allowance to companies to submit later than the 60 days, if they chose that option, or 90 days with the fourth quarter submitted. So, the issues are there, and you have to get within the weeds and see where they are. What the stock exchange is doing is just really because these things are unfolding, looking at just how we can assist in ensuring that these companies remain and are compliant with the rules of the exchange.
So, given what you just outlined and the difficulties, is it that we just don't have the resources in Jamaica to make sure that all companies are compliant and are able to file on time? And if that's the case, is it fair to hold to such a rigid standard?
That is one issue, and it is really not. I want to quickly add that this problem that is being experienced, it's not a Jamaica problem. This is a problem that is being faced by the region and internationally, where there is a dearth of auditors. There is the standards that have been increased for companies that operate, and are listed on the exchanges. And so it is an international problem, and this is why we are looking at it closely. As you have asked, is this a standard that then listed companies can, is it fair to hold them to these standards? And so we are looking on all of that. We are looking on whether it is, when you benchmark it against many of the other countries that have both the submission of these statements, and you have early warnings, etc., more interaction with investors. How do we now put all of that together to come to a point where, one, investors still get the information that they need on a timely basis, because that's very important to us. It's actually critical to us. And this is why years ago we changed, because the period between the last submission to the next one was 180 days. And that's a half a year. And which is why we tried. And I think that is one of the things that stimulated confidence in our market. The fact that the information was out pretty early. And so we want to keep that as a focus. But how can we, in keeping that as a focus, still ensure that there is something that is achievable for the companies that are listed, and also have within it the element of ensuring that investors get relative and relevant information on time?
It's a very delicate balance that you have to strike, and a difficult decision as well, because on the one hand, you have the negative impact. I think of a company like Edufocal and how their share price plummeted after, the suspension, because it's a reputational hit. And then on the other hand, You have, the JSE last year being staunchly criticized over the iCreate situation because they apparently were given, a lot of leeway.
The iCreate was not given any lot of leeway that was not within the rules of the exchange. And one of the things that we want to
It took a
also
long time to suspend them, though, despite multiple late submissions.
They were suspended based on the rules of the exchange. I want to say that. What I also want to say within this discussion is we also urge our listed companies to start to do the necessaries of preparing their financial statements just as if they were being audited at the end of each quarter, so that come the end of the year, their books and records are in such that the auditors, the level of scrutiny probably can be reduced as well.
I want to ask you this, Dr. Street Forrest. After over 2 decades at the JSE, what would you say is your proudest achievement to date? Because you're not gone yet. You still have 6 months,
Well,
5 months.
as you say, proudest, but the fact is that there are many achievements that I could say at the point in time I was proud of, or I am proud of. The creation of the junior market is one that I'm extremely proud of. And the reason for this is the opportunity that it affords small and medium-sized companies to access capital, and the collaborative effect of partnering with the government in doing this. And I'm really heartened to see the growth of most of these companies by way of corporate governance, being able to raise those funds, being able to grow the business, their export, just the level of achievement that these companies have been able to meet. The other thing is not only that, but you see, because a market is issuer and a market is investor, and the investors, how they have just taken to the junior market, taken to main market too, but in terms of their wealth creation. I'm also proud of the fact that, and possibly deep within me, I'm proud of the fact that the myth that it is only the rich that can participate in the equities market, I think that myth is certainly out the window now. And so the market is democratized. What we find now, we have over 230 investors in the market.
230,000.
230,000 investors in the market, which really converts to about 18% of the adult population of Jamaica investing in the market. And those who have not invested, they know about it. You can ask almost any man on the street now about stock market, and they are able to tell you something sensible. So that is for me probably, in terms of sustainability, in terms of reach, that would be two of the things that I think we got right. We got
Well,
market education, and we also got those small and medium-sized companies coming to market and preparing. Khalil, may I add that every company almost now that you speak to, almost from the beginning, if you ask them in terms of their strategic plan,
they
what
aspire to list.
yes, that is correct. What a beauty. What an absolute beauty. So that, people know where they can find access.
That is a truly amazing thing. So you listed some really great accomplishments, and there are no shortage of accomplishments. I was gonna mention that actually, Dr. Street Forest, that just the change in the entrepreneurship environment, the enthusiasm, hearing young people talk about aspiring to list on the JSE for multiple reasons. It's a win-win-win situation because the investor gets debt-free money. The founder gets to cash out potentially,
If you want.
and
Yes.
locals get to participate in the building of Jamaican companies. The government gets more employment because businesses can expand, and then later on, well, they get also the payroll taxes. Later on, they get the GCT. They get the GCT now, plus later on, the income tax when the junior market 5 years and 10 years are expired, and so on and so forth. Just so many benefits. But with so many companies aspiring to list, what
Yes.
advice do you have for businesses that want to come to the JSE?
Well, the first thing is, you must always see what are some of the challenges that we have and that we see when companies want to come to market. And as an as a company owner, etc., entrepreneur, you find that the concentration is getting that product or service out, to the detriment sometimes of the preparing good financial statements, ensuring that they're audited, just having that recorded business plan. And so we encourage people that the governance framework must be put in place. The board of directors, just meeting as I said, the plans, the business plan, and getting those records. Be compliant with filing of your financials, your annual reports, etc. These are things that we encourage the potential listed companies to have. Don't be afraid and don't believe that you cannot list your company. Always have that as a goal, that I know the advantages of listing that company, that patient capital, the ability, as you have just said, to cash out, the ability to ensure that I can move from one generation to the other, the ability to have structured management, all of those, the continuous promotion of that business. And as I said before, good governance. So all of those things, we want to encourage persons to have as part of the advantage and prepare for doing so.
How do you see the exchange evolving after you leave office? What's the future like for
Well,
the
we have
JSE?
a competent team, as you would hear me say many, many times repeatedly, that there is success because of teamwork, because of a vision and everyone buying in to what we want to see as the exchange group, where we are involved in every transaction in some way. And that is why we have diversified the offerings of the exchange through our various subsidiaries, the Jamaica Central Securities Depository, the Jamaica JCSD Trustee Services. And then we also look at the social, because social is also important to business growth and development. And that is through the JSSE. So we have competent
No,
people.
that's not really the question that I'm asking. What do you see as the future of investing in Jamaica? I'm sure there are competent people. That's not really the question.
The future of investing in Jamaica.
The future of the JSE, what does that look like? Does it continue more of the same, or what are the developments that you
And this
see
is what I
making it
was saying to
successful?
you. It's never more of the same, right? It's always continued growth. So there is no doubt in my mind that there will be more products and services that will be offered because we have a strategic plan and we work that strategic plan. And so the JSE will continue to evolve, will continue to grow, will continue to benchmark itself against global exchanges, and also the subsidiaries will do the same.
Mm. And finally, Dr. Street Forrest, what's next for you? What's your next move?
Well, I keep my options open. I am, as you know, coming at the 65. I'm a young 65.
Oh, yes.
And so I keep my options open. There is more to contribute. And so we will take it as it comes.
Well, thank you so much. It's my pleasure, and I wish you all the best in these last few months of your tenure and beyond.
Thank you very much for having me, Kalila.